The sun was climbing higher, its relentless heat baking the rocks of my temporary shelter. The air was thick with humidity, making every breath feel like a laborious task. Thirst gnawed at my throat, a persistent reminder of my most immediate need, water. My lips were cracked and my tongue felt like sandpaper. I knew I couldn't last much longer without hydration. I had to find fresh water, which meant leaving the coast and venturing into the dense, unknown jungle. The thought of what lay ahead was daunting, but staying put was a slow death sentence. Time to move. My first steps away from the familiar rocks felt momentous, each one taking me further into uncertainty. The sounds of the jungle enveloped me. Strange bird calls, the buzz of insects, and the rustle of leaves could be anything, a harmless breeze or something far more sinister. The oppressive heat intensified with every meter I moved inland. Sweat trickled down my back, soaking my clothes. I clutched the smooth, cool metal of the tin I'd found on the beach. Its weight was a small comfort. It was my only possession, a reminder of the world I had left behind. The jungle edge was an abrupt barrier of tangled vines and dense undergrowth. I had to push through, using my hands to part the thick leaves and thorny creepers that snagged at my clothes and skin. Each step was a struggle, but I couldn't afford to stop. The further I went, the more the jungle seemed to close in around me. I turned my face towards the gloom and plunged into the green, hoping that somewhere in this vast, untamed wilderness, I would find the water I so desperately needed. The journey ahead was uncertain, but I had no choice but to keep moving forward. The jungle was alive with sounds, each one a reminder of the life teeming within. I had to stay alert, for danger could be lurking behind any tree or bush. My senses were heightened, every rustle and chirp making my heart race. I was alone, but I had to survive. With determination, I pushed forward, knowing that my life depended on finding water and shelter. The jungle was both my enemy and my hope. I had to conquer it to survive. The density of the jungle was immediate and overwhelming. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy far above. Progress was painfully slow. Every step was a battle against the clinging undergrowth, sharp thorns and tangled roots. The sounds intensified, a constant barrage on the senses. The buzzing of unseen insects was relentless. Strange clicks and rustles came from the shadows, hinting at creatures I couldn't see. The air was thick with the smells of the jungle, damp earth, rotting wood, and the musky odor of unseen animals. Physical exertion quickly took its toll. I pushed on, driven by a primal instinct to survive, to find water, to escape this claustrophobic embrace. My thirst had become a raging fire in my throat. Water was the priority. Without it, I wouldn't last long in this oppressive heat. Every rustle of leaves, every distant bird call, I tried to interpret as a sign. Then I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible murmur. It sounded like running water. A surge of hope coursed through me. I changed direction, pushing through the undergrowth with renewed vigor. After what felt like an eternity, I stumbled into a small, sun-dappled clearing, and there it was, a stream. The water sparkled where slivers of sunlight pierced the canopy. Relief washed over me. I had found water. I drank slowly at first, then more deeply, letting the life-giving liquid soothe my parched throat and rehydrate my weary body. Replenished by the cool water, a measure of strength returned to my limbs. The immediate, desperate edge of thirst had been blunted, but I knew I couldn't afford to relax. This island was still a dangerous, unknown place. As I sat by the stream, I meticulously scanned the area around me. The clearing was small, with the jungle pressing in on all sides. My gaze drifted along the muddy banks of the stream. I was looking for animal tracks, anything that might give me a clue about the local wildlife. Then something caught my attention. It was an impression in the mud, distinct from the natural debris. My pulse quickened. The mark was unmistakable. It was a footprint, and not just any footprint, it was a human footprint, and it was fresh. The implications of that single footprint in the mud were enormous. The most immediate thought was one of hope. If there were other people here, it could mean rescue, or at the very least, companionship. Yet shadowing this flicker of hope was a deep-seated fear. Who was this other person or people? What if they weren't friendly? Stranded individuals can be desperate, and desperate people can be dangerous. I had no weapons, save for my wits and a small knife. I was vulnerable. There were several footprints leading away from the stream and deeper into the jungle. They were adult-sized, clearly defined. Barefoot, The immediate dilemma was stark. Should I follow these footprints, or should I retreat and find a more concealed spot? Following them could lead to salvation, or it could lead straight into danger. The risk versus reward calculation was a heavy one. The discovery of the footprints had fundamentally altered the psychological landscape of my survival. The isolation I'd felt moments before was somehow simpler. Now, there was a new variable, an unknown human factor that added layers of complexity and uncertainty. Despite the turmoil of hope and fear, I knew I had to maintain focus on the core principles of survival. Water had been found, a major victory, but shelter and food remained critical, pressing needs. The footprints, whether they led to friend or foe, didn't change those fundamental requirements. My own preparedness was paramount. An internal battle raged within me. Part of me wanted to shout out, to call into the dense green in the hope of a friendly response. Another, more cautious part urged silence and stealth. I took another long drink from the stream, the cool water a balm, not just to my throat, but to my frayed nerves. My hand, almost unconsciously, sought the familiar shape of the metal tin tucked securely into my belt. Its cool, smooth surface was a strange contrast to the rough textures of the jungle. The tin was an anomaly here, a piece of another world. It had washed up on the beach, a silent offering from the ocean, and I had clung to it. I still hadn't tried to open it. The reasons were complex. Partly it was the lack of immediate, desperate need. Partly it was the fear of disappointment. What if it contained something useless or worse, nothing at all? But there was also a deeper, more strategic consideration. In a survival situation, unknown resources are best conserved. The mystery of its contents held more potential than a known, perhaps mundane, reality. It was a card yet to be played, a possible ace up my sleeve for a truly dire moment, so I decided to keep it sealed for now. After careful consideration, I made a decision. The jungle was an enigma, a puzzle that beckoned me to solve it. Every rustle of leaves, every distant call of a bird seemed to whisper secrets of the island. I would follow the footprints, at least for a while. They were faint, almost erased by the elements, but they were there, leading me deeper into the unknown. The need to know, to understand who else shared this island, was too strong to ignore. Was it a friend or foe? A fellow explorer, or something more sinister? But I would proceed with extreme caution, moving slowly, using the cover of the jungle to remain unseen. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated to avoid detection. I decided to follow the stream upwards as the footprints indicated. The water's gentle flow was a reassuring presence, guiding me through the dense foliage. The jungle seemed to grow even denser as I moved away from the small clearing. The light dimmed and the air felt thicker, more oppressive. The trees pressed closer together, their massive trunks like the pillars of some ancient forgotten temple. Each tree seemed to have a story, a history, etched into its bark. The canopy above became an almost unbroken ceiling of green, filtering out even more of the precious sunlight. It felt like entering a different world, one where time stood still. The air grew heavier, more humid, and the silence, when the insect chorus momentarily paused, was profound and unnerving. It was as if the jungle itself was holding its breath, waiting. The stream was my only reliable guide, its gentle murmur a constant companion in this green labyrinth. It was a lifeline, a thread connecting me to the outside world. With every twist and turn of the meandering watercourse, I felt myself venturing deeper into the island's heart. Each step took me further from the familiar and closer to the island's hidden secrets. The sun began its slow descent, painting the upper canopy in hues of orange and purple. The sky was a canvas of vibrant colors, a stark contrast to the darkening jungle below. I'd been following the stream for what felt like most of the day. The gentle babble of the water was my only companion, a soothing yet eerie soundtrack to my solitary journey. The trail of footprints had long since vanished. Each step I took seemed to erase any trace of my presence, as if the jungle itself was swallowing my path. The hope of an imminent encounter had faded, replaced by a growing weariness and a nagging sense of unease. My legs felt heavy and my mind was clouded with doubt. This part of the jungle felt different, older, more primeval. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a reminder of the jungle's ancient history. The trees were larger, their roots like gnarled talons gripping the earth. Each root seemed to tell a story of survival and resilience, a testament to the jungle's enduring spirit. The stream itself had begun to fork multiple times, making it increasingly difficult to be certain I was still on the main course. Each fork was a potential wrong turn, a path to deeper confusion. I paused, leaning against the cool, damp bark of a colossal tree, trying to get my bearings. The tree's rough surface was a small comfort, a momentary respite from the overwhelming uncertainty. Looking back the way I thought I'd come, the jungle presented an impenetrable wall of green. The dense vegetation seemed to close in around me, erasing any sign of my previous passage. I realized with a growing sense of dread that I had no clear idea how to get back to the small clearing, let alone the coast. The familiar landmarks had vanished, replaced by an endless sea of green. A chilling thought began to crystallize in my mind. I was lost. The jungle, with all its beauty and mystery, had become a labyrinth, and I was its unwitting prisoner.